guys, thanks for joining me for this week's video. This week I have accepted a challenge where I take a thrifted item and transform it into something beautiful for under $10. Well, I've actually got two of those projects for you this week. One was gifted, the other was a $2 find, and I did them both for under $10. So I'm pretty excited to show you how I did that. Please make sure to watch the complete video to find out how I transformed them. And also, I will give you more information on that challenge later in the video, so you need to make sure to watch. And if you are new here, thank you so much for joining me, and I hope that you like this video and subscribe so that you could see more of it. And if you're a continued subscriber, I am so excited that you are now commenting and liking my videos. I appreciate everything you do, and I hope that you continue to come back. And so now, without anything left to do, let's get crafting. This first project is an item I picked up at the thrift store for $2. It's just one of those vintage bill organizers that you would see in Grandma's house. And I'm just sanding down the letters in the front so that the raised letter doesn't show through the paint. And I was inspired by Savanah with SavvyCraftsWithSavanah. She did one similar and distressed it and put some floral arrangements in it, and it turned out super cute. So I thought I'd give my hand a try at it. And I'll put her link to the video that she did down below. And then I see that I have some holes there that I forgot to fill before I started painting. So I just went back in with some plaster, hole filler there, and sanded that down. Of course, dust it off, make sure there's no dust. So I gave this a couple of coats, and this I'm just finishing up the back here. You want to make sure that you get all over all the sides, the back, the bottom. Just make sure you have a good coverage on it, because that is a pretty dark wood. So now I'm doing the front, making sure I have that front covered really well because of those letters. I don't want that to show through at all. And also make sure to get inside, because you'll see through the flowers, so I just made sure I was painting in between there. Oh, and if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do that. And actually this paint is the same paint that I always use. It's the Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint. I love that stuff. Well, it seems like it's taken a while to paint this. And that brush, I actually got that online through Amazon. It's a pretty cool brush, tiny, and yet it's one of the chalk brushes. It works really great. I'll have all the links of everything that I use down below. So after I got a couple of coats on that and let it dry, I sanded it, but I missed getting the video. I don't know what happened, but I missed that showing me sanding everywhere. But I got all of the curved edges and a little bit in the front too, to show the distressing. I didn't want to go too dark with it on like paint or anything. I wanted to show the actual distressing. So now I'm just using the polyacrylic on it. I love that stuff. I love how it feels afterwards, and it protects the chalk paint so that you don't have it flake off or have fingerprints on it. So it's nice to have a nice coat over it. So after I finish this, I decorated it with some cute flowers, and I'll show you at the end. This week's video is Thrift Flip Thursday, hosted by Shayna and Savanah, as well as co-host Wendy. This is a challenge where you take a thrifted item and recycle it into beautiful decor for your home for under $10. And I hope you enjoy the ones that I've created today. I will have their links listed below, so I hope you check them out and enjoy their channels as well. My next item I'm redoing is this vintage bread box, accordion door bread box. I got it for free. My husband picked it up from someone that was going to throw it in the trash, so I'm glad that he picked it up for me. I'm just giving it a coat of paint here, and just making sure that I get in all those little grooves. And of course, subscribe. So again, I'm using the Rust-Oleum linen white paint. And on the bottom there was a name of the manufacturer, and I didn't want to paint over that, so I'm just covering it up with some painter's tape to protect it and painting around it, and then taking that off later so I can still see that manufacturer's name. So once I gave it a couple of coats, I'm now sanding all of the different little grooves there on the accordion part, and actually making it so that it's smooth for my decal that I'm putting on. My first time using my silhouette cameo, and it is a little confusing at first. A learning curve, that's for sure. But I printed this out, this little design, and it ended up not turning out so great. And then I ended up having to use the wheat instead. So it turned out actually better than I had originally thought with the original design. But I cut this out of, it's just the generic ones that they had on their library. So if you have one, you can find it on there. And now I'm just using some black chalk paint to go over the little areas with a dry brush. You don't want to put a lot of paint on your brush when you're dry brushing to distress. And just trying to get all of the little areas that, you know, kind of raised up a little bit, and then making sure the sides are getting a little bit of some streaks going on there. And then I'm just using a baby wipe to wipe down the areas and smooth it out that are a little thicker than I wanted. And just blending all of that in. So now I'm sanding over the decal so it looks more distressed, and making it blend in a little bit more, and just touching up some of the areas with the sandpaper that I might have missed. And I've noticed that some of the decals coming up, and that was a little bit difficult to keep those down, but after I sand here, I think that I should probably put some of that polyacrylic on, So I'm going to try to make sure that those stay down with some of that polyacrylic. So I'm going to give it just one coat of this. It dries clear, which is nice. I love this stuff. And being in a kitchen, it protects it too, so when it gets wet, it will wipe off easy. You want to kind of get all of the grooves too, so that when it bends, it seals in there too. Of course, getting over the, you want to be very careful with the decal, the vinyl decal, because all those little pieces could easily just rip up. And because they weren't sticking so well, I decided I needed some Mod Podge. I just put it under all the little areas that weren't sticking well and re-gluing them down. And that fine lettering is really a stickler wanting to come up, so you have to be really careful with it. I just went over it with all of the leaves, all of the extra vinyl that looked like it might be coming up. I just kind of went over with the Mod Podge as well. And then there it is, all finished with the Mod Podge. So now I'm just painting the inside. I just painted around everything. I didn't paint the inside accordion part, but just the sides and that front piece, and then the very back piece on the bottom. Because what I'm going to do is put some liner in there, and I didn't want the paint in there. It would be kind of pointless to put paint if I'm going to put the liner in. And then also I didn't want to get paint inside of those grooves where the accordion part is going to continue to come down and up. I was worried it's going to make it even more stickier than it already is, being vintage and having a hard time as it is. Then I placed the tack paper in at the end here, and I will show you the finished product in the reveal.